if it didn't get published, it wouldn't have mattered really. It helped me and it helped the people that I let read. I just wanted them to read it because I wrote a book and I didn't want to be the only person in the world to know that.
What's good? I'm Nikisha Elise Williams, and this is Black and Published, bringing you the journeys of writers, poets, playwrights, and storytellers of all kinds. Today's guest is Kristen R. Lee, a debut author of the YA novel, Required Reading for the Disenfranchised Freshman. In our discussion, Kristen opens up about coming from an impoverished background, why college was her only hope, and how that experience has completely changed her life.
I was living in a boarding house in Brooklyn. It was like 20 people in a house. I shared a room with another girl. We lived in bunk beds. And then I sold the book. and I got money. And I got access to people I never thought I'd have access to. I got all these doors just kind of opened up for me.
A Memphis native, Kristen got her start in writing by penning fan fiction for soap operas she watched with her grandparents. But it wasn't until she graduated from college that she realized she needed an outlet to process the trauma of being a Black girl at a PWI. How she used her own experience to explore the intersectionality of classism and racism. Plus, why she still needs time to process her meteoric literary rise that had 30 agents fighting to represent her book that eventually sold in 3 weeks. And the one question she wishes she could ask Toni Morrison about the importance of centering Black characters. When Black and Published continues. When did you know that you were a writer?
Oh, so that's a hard question. So I tell my agent and editor all the time that I used to write fan fiction, but I never finished a story. And so they always say, well, maybe that's your origin story. But since I never finished it, I never decided that, oh, okay, that made me a writer. I didn't actually start writing until 2016, after I graduated college and realized that my life did not revolve around academia stuff. And I needed some new hobbies and new passions and things to do. So I started writing again. And that's how required reading became. So I guess 2016 is when I decided I was a writer.
Maybe you made that decision with your head, but I think your heart knew earlier. So let's go back to the fan fiction. What kind of fan fiction were you writing? What inspired you to try to do your own riff on stories that were already out there?
Oh my gosh, this is so embarrassing, but it's my favorite story to tell. Okay, so I was raised by my grandparents and my great-grandparents. Old Black people, they love their stories. And so I was 5 years old watching all these soap operas. And then once I got a little older, I was like, this is kind of interesting. I want my own spin off. And so I was when I was 12, I was writing General Hospital, Days of Our Lives, Passions, fan fiction. It was.
I love it. My grandmother's favorite soap opera, God rest her soul, was The Bold and the Beautiful. And whenever I was at her house in New Orleans, whenever Bold and Beautiful came on, we had to be quiet to go take a nap. And then after The Bold and the Beautiful went off, she had to call her sister, my Aunt Helen, who lived around the corner, to talk about what happened on The Bold and the Beautiful. So I completely understand. But you went so far as to write fan fiction about these long-running soap operas.
Long-running people who already had lives before I was born, probably keep going after I'm dead.
All right. So, but then I see how that translated into your novel, Required Reading, but you said you started after you graduated from undergrad, because there are some soap opera-y elements in your novel. So you mentioned that you had to get out of academia and have some other hobbies. Why was writing the outlet that you turned to?
So I think writing is because it's easy and it's something everyone can do. Everyone can pick up a pen Everyone can, type on their computer. You can do it anywhere. It wasn't something that I felt like I had to be perfect at, because before I tried photography and it wasn't working for me. I didn't have the eye for it. And so when I started writing, I was like, this is something I can commit to. It's something that came naturally to me. So that's why I chose, yeah. And I sometimes say I think writing also chose me. I think it knew that I needed to get what I had to say out, especially just right after graduating from college. I still had a lot of trauma about my experience, a lot of feelings about what I experienced, and I needed a way to get that out of me. And so writing was that way for me.
And you didn't go to school for writing, did you?
No. My undergraduate degree is in communications, and then I have half a master's in social work. So
Congratulations on half a master's. When's graduation day?
Whenever I go back, when I sold the book, I was like, I think I can take a little break.
I love it. Like, I'll come back to this master's just in case the book is working out. All right. So the novel's entitled Required Reading for the Disenfranchised Freshman. You've mentioned that you wrote it coming out of undergrad, trying to process your own trauma of your experience. So I don't want to call nobody out, but where did you go to school? What happened? Give us a tea.
Okay, so I can't tell y'all where I went to school. We're keeping that under wraps. But
okay.
It was just a lot. So the school I went to, it was small. It was like 2,000 students. And I would say like maybe 100 Black people, if that, even fewer other people of color. So it was very white. And just when I first got there, it was a culture shock for me because I'm coming from Memphis, Tennessee, which is a major Black city. I've only interacted with Black people. I've only been to school with Black people my whole life. I have never been around this type of culture before, these type of experiences. And so immediately, once I stepped foot on campus, I noticed that this is a shift. This is going to be a change. This is something that I would have to try to put my best foot forward to, like try to go in with an open mind. And I tried to. I tried to make the friends. I tried to blend in. I tried to, not be too loud, not to be too this, not be too, out there. Kept my hair, pushed back. Tried to be quiet, just to not make anyone feel uncomfortable. And then once I realized that I was doing that, a switch turned in my head, and I was like, why? Because no one else on campus is making me feel comfortable. No one else is trying to welcome me into their groups. No one else is trying to make this a nice living space, especially in the dorms for me. So why am I trying to do it for them? And when that switch hit, I was like, okay, yeah. I'm going to be me now. I'm going to find people that care about me, that understand my experiences, that I don't have to explain myself to. Like, for example, so I joined the Black Student Union, and one year we did this was when the Black Girls Rock campaign first started. And so we did one of our own, like highlighting the Black students on campus. And one of the white students, she said, but don't all girls rock? Why do we need this on our campus? And they made a whole big thing about how we're like segregating ourselves, how we're not being inclusive and all this. And we had to have like a whole seminar thing about diversity and inclusion, and how these things, just because we say Black Girls Rock, we're not excluding anyone else. We're just celebrating ourselves on a campus that doesn't. And that's like one of the main things that happened on my college campus that stuck with me the most.
Okay, so we're coming to the novel. I went to a PWI as well, but our BSU was very strong. There were Black people everywhere, and then there was a HBCU, like literally across the tracks. So my experience, like I identified a lot of things that you wrote about in your novel, but then I felt like I had a different experience because it wasn't as much of a culture shock for me. In graduating and coming out of that experience, was writing your novel therapeutic for you to kind of get those
It,
feelings out and to process what you'd gone through?
it definitely was, especially once I was actually writing. And when I'm writing, I'm just typing. I'm not like thinking, especially when I'm doing the first draft. I'm just getting the words on the page. But then when I went back and, and read the book, I was like, wow, is this really how it's feeling? Like, what did this affect me that much? And I really did. So I started, like, after the book, I started going to therapy. I started talking about it actually with other people. I started talking to my classmates about it. I was like, do you feel the same way that I felt? Did you have these same experiences? And so I started asking them, like, even when I was writing the book, I asked them, oh, what was your experiences? Can you tell me stuff that happened to you if you feel comfortable? I just think, like, this is something that we should talk about because it was kind of a traumatic experience for us. Not gonna lie, like, it was traumatic. It affected us in ways that we're still dealing with today.
So your main character, Savannah, she's feisty. Were some of the things that she encountered inspired by your own life and experience, or did you like just ramp up the drama and everything that happened for the sake of the fiction?
Some things were inspired by real life, but other things I definitely wrapped up for like the drama of the novel and just have a little spice on it for publishing. They like to add a little bit dazzle to it.
A little razzle dazzle.
A little
Razzle dazzle. All right, so let's talk about your publishing journey. You said you started writing just for yourself to process. When did you know that you wanted to give this to the world and like find an agent and go through that whole process?
So once I finished writing the first draft, I let a few people read it, and just so like they could read it. I didn't even think they was told me that, oh, you should have this published. You should start that journey. I just wanted them to read it because I wrote a book and I didn't want to be the only person in the world to know that. And so I started sending it out to people, and they were telling me that this is really good. Like, if you start editing, if you start redrafting and fixing things, that they definitely thought that this could be something that could be published. And at the time, I didn't know really anything about publishing. I didn't know about agents, editors, curing. I didn't know any of this. So I had to Google myself, and I had to go on the forums. Twitter was a big help for me. MSWL, manuscriptwishlist.com, all these places where I looked for agents who were looking for books with social justice themes. I started finding like authors who wrote social justice books. I started with their agents first. And that took about me doing it on my own. It was like, I would say 3 years of me doing that with no bites.
Wow.
Yeah, it was a long time. And it really didn't seem like a long time because, once again, I was in school. I was going to be a social worker. I didn't really think that this was, if it didn't get published, it wouldn't have mattered really, because I know I wrote the book. I know it helped me and it helped the people that I let read. So that was good enough for me at the time. So yeah, 3 years doing that. And then randomly I saw like a contest on Twitter called Author Mentor Match, and they match you with authors who are either published or about to be published. And so there I met my mentor. I won the contest, got into the mentorship, and I met my mentor, JL, the author of Wings of Ebony. And with her, I edited with her for 6 months, literally 6 months after 3 years. And I got all this interest of agents and editors who wanted to work with my book. And so that 4th year, I got an agent in 2019. And then October 2019, I got the agent. And then in January 2020, right before the pandemic, we sold the book. So for me, the journey actually started when I started with JL, because that's when like I said, okay, we actually have interest. We actually have people who want this book now. I actually feel like I can go somewhere with this. I feel like that it's no longer about me. It's about the world, the collective. And so going from not getting any bites in 3 years to having 30 agents saying, "Oh, I like this," in 6 months, that was weird. And then having it sell in 3 weeks, that was even wilder. And so that's when I kind of knew like, okay, this book is gonna hit. This book is gonna change somebody's life. And
Wow. So we gonna go back to that, that slight flex of, 30 agents and then selling the book in 3 weeks. We gonna get back to that. I recognize a little slight flex right there. But I want to start with the journey. So after you finish your first draft and you started Googling and querying and doing all this work on your own to try to learn the business of publishing and in the industry, what kept you persistent? Because you said, if it hadn't got published in that time, it wouldn't have mattered to you because you finished it for yourself and it helped you and healed you. But so what kept you going?
I just wanted to try. I wanted to see. I'm a Virgo, so we have a very hard time quitting things, especially things we start.
You got that Beyonce spirit on you.
Yeah, the Beyonce spirit, definitely. It's like, okay, in my mind, okay, I've carried all these agents, but there's still so many agents left. So why would I give up? I feel like if I got to a certain point, I might have gave up, but like maybe I would say if I hit the 10-year mark, maybe I would have gave up.
Okay, I got you. So then what was it about working with your mentor, J.O., that you think pushed you over the edge to get to the point where you had so much interest for representation?
Yeah. JL is just, even though I tell her like she made my career, she is a very good writer. And she was a teacher beforehand, so she knew how to like guide me and mold my talents. She saw like beneath like the book, it needed a lot of work. I'm not gonna lie. It did need a lot of work. But she was able to tell me like, okay, this is it. This is your book. And you can do whatever you want with it. But this is what's going to make people take notice. This is what's gonna get people to see what you're trying to say. And so I think that is what made her push the book kind of to where it is now. So now that I'm not working with her anymore I'm currently working on book 3. I'm like, outlining is kind of, difficult. And you kind of taught me how to outline, because you want to come back a little bit and help me again, because yeah.
You just keep throwing in these flexes. Like, we were talking about book 1, but now you outlining book 3. So let me catch up to where you are. After your work with your mentor, you said that you had interest from 30 agents, and then the novel sold in 3 weeks once you started working with your agents. How did that make you feel?
It was kind of eye-opening. It was also kind of scary at the same time, because like when I started getting all that interest, I was like, okay, this book is going to do something and I need to prepare for that. I need to prepare for this book to be successful. I need to prepare for this book to be out in the world. I need to do all these things that I wasn't really betting on. That's why I kind of like, I left school to like focus on this book. So it was a lot. And when it sold in 3 weeks, that I was not expecting that. I'm still in shock of that. I don't think I even had time to process how I was feeling at that time, because it happened so fast. She sent out the book to editors. Then a few days later, she's like, okay, we have interest. I'm about to nudge everyone else. She nudged everyone else. They either dropped out or they went to auction. And the auction happened in 24 hours. I was like, okay, this is a lot. This is a lot to process. I was grateful. I still am grateful that people took the time out to read something that I put a lot of work into. That whole in a month thing kind of changed my life. So I'm grateful for that.
You say it changed your life. How did it change your life?
Oh, okay. So when I sold the book, I was still in college. It was my second semester of grad school. I was living I was living so a few months prior to that, I was living in a boarding house in Brooklyn, a true boarding house. Like it was like 20 people in a house. I shared a room with another girl. We lived in bunk beds. It was a lot. So I was poor. But I'm also by myself. So poverty as a single person is not as like I could manage it, but it was still difficult. And I knew what I was getting myself into when I moved to New York for college, and I didn't have like the funds other than college stuff. So I knew what I was getting myself into, and I knew like this would be hard, but I thought that at the end it would pay off, and it did. So I'm not I'm not sad about it. It was like just my come up story. So I was doing that, and at the time I sold the book, I had moved up to Washington Heights with some other people. I had got out of the boarding house and I just moved in with three people now. So I thought that was like the best thing ever. I was working, making like $15 an hour, working 20 hours a week. I didn't know what I was going to do in my life. I was in college to be a social worker, but at the time I was like, do I really want to do this? Like, is this really a calling in my life? So I was having like that whole existential crisis thing. And then I sold the book and I got and I got money and I got access to people I never thought I'd have access to. I got all these doors just kind of opened up for me. Mm. And I felt that I had to take every opportunity that presented itself to me. So I would no longer be in the position where, oh, I have to live, you know, with 30,000 roommates. Oh, I have to get this degree in something that I don't really like just so I can kind of support myself. I now support other people and I'm grateful for that.
Congratulations, all blessings.
Yeah.
So let's get to the reading of the book because I got questions about Savannah and her shenanigans. So let's go.
All right, Black and Published family. It's time for the reading of Kristen's debut YA novel, Required Reading for the Disenfranchised Freshman. The novel follows the main character, Savannah, from the mean streets of Memphis to the gilded campus of fictional Wooddale University, a setting that is a culture shock of race and class that forces Savannah to either assimilate or rebel by just being herself. Here's Kristen.
So I'm going to read the first chapter because it's my, well, not the first chapter, but you know, the first few pages, because that's my favorite thing. Fun fact. I redid the first chapter a few times, but when I got to the pizza drivers don't deliver here after 7, I knew I had a hit.
Yeah.
Okay. So the pizza drivers don't deliver here after 7. 5 in the wintertime when the sun sets down earlier. When they do deliver, they don't come beyond the iron gates of my building. We have to walk down to them. They park damn near around the corner, but they still expect a tip. I have a tip for them. Stop being afraid of Black folk. I searched for my low-top Air Force Ones that I've been wearing since 9th grade. Mama taped up the bottom with duct tape to keep the soles from falling apart. She tells me all the time to throw them away, that no matter how poor we are, we don't have to look it. But I can't toss them. These same shoes took me everywhere. In a few days, they'll be coming with me to college. A college I worked my whole life to get into. But truth be told, I don't want to go to. Not like Mama would give me a say anyway. Mama, I'm finna go get a pizza. I stand behind the bedroom door that hangs off the hinges. She takes her sweet time inviting me in. I know better than to enter the room without permission. Mom, bring me a pepperoni with extra cheese, she says. You got extra cheese money, I want to say, but I don't have time for a lecture. I lean against the wall. You know they charge more for the extra cheese, Mama? I know that, Savannah. Come get $20 out of my pocketbook. The door hugs my body as I rest against the wall. Mama sits on the edge of her bed and the cut-off shirt she wears shows the aging in her arms. Soft pink rollers that give her hair a bump peek out from underneath her bonnet. Her swollen feet rest in one of them massage buckets boosted from Walmart by my cousin Sean. Mama's feet ain't no good no more. Years of standing up on a concrete at a warehouse for 12 hours did a number on her body. When she got that good job down at the tax agency, she ran into the house and threw out every pair of steel boots she ever owned. But by then, the damage to her feet was already done.
All right, thank you. So, in reading that first chapter, you make the world in which Savannah comes from, the projects in South Memphis, very clear. And it's obvious the type of environment she's in, the poverty that she's lived in, but that going to college is like her only hope. And it will be her only chance to, make something out of herself and break the cycle of poverty that she and her mother face. And on page 6 specifically, I think 6 to 7, you say, where I'm from, folks can be successful if given the chance. And then that paragraph ends, dreams don't pay overdue water bills, though. You talked a little bit about it, but what have your dreams, especially of writing, once you committed to it, what has it done for you? And what dreams do you feel like you still need more money and more access and more doors open for you that you may not have had you continued pursuing to be a social worker?
Writing has afforded me a lot of opportunities that I didn't have before. I don't have to worry about, doing the 9 to 5 thing. I don't have to worry about money as much as I did, and not worrying about money. I know people say money isn't everything, but money really can change your life, how you view yourself, your stress levels, especially when you don't have to wake up to go to a job that you don't like to do, doing doing stuff just to keep lights on. It really changes how you view the world, how you view how life is supposed to turn out. Everyone isn't meant to just work themselves to death, but when you live in a society as we do, it's sometimes your only choice. Like if you don't work, you don't eat. So I'm grateful that I'm able to take care of myself. I'm able to give to my family if they need it. And even though writing is a job, it's a job that I don't mind doing. It's a job that I wake up every day and I try to be better at. And that's how I know that it's something I can see myself doing for a long time. And if I continued to do social work, I wouldn't have been able to do any of the things that I'm currently doing now.
But as you discussed, like you went to college, you went to a PWI, you were in grad school to become a social worker just to, I guess, pull yourself up. And you said this novel is born out of some of your own experiences. Was your experience that of Savannah, where you were kind of forced to try to go into the best college that you could because that was, as you say on page 31, your only opportunity at greatness?
Definitely. So my parents didn't go to college, but my grandparents did. And that was in the 60s. And so from the 60s to when my sister went to college in 2009, nobody in my family had been to college in that whole time period. So in a whole generation, no one had been into college. And so I knew that I had to, I know I had to be great. Yeah, I knew that. I knew that I couldn't stay in the predicament that we were in. I knew that I couldn't just, be like other kids, just go to college and pick a major and have fun. I went to college with a purpose, and that was to do better for myself, to do better for my family. And I think I tell my grandparents all the time, I think it worked in a roundabout way. Like I know I didn't go on the exact path that I was supposed to when I went to college, but college is kind of, making my life better in a roundabout way because I wrote about it. And
it's because of college that you have this book.
Yeah, my experiences made me write this book.
Do you feel like the messaging is harmful to teens and students that, college is the only way?
It can be. I don't think college is the only thing that should be pushed, especially when we realize how often that people of color, especially Black people, get put into like predatory debt, like predatory loan companies and things like that. There's no reason that when I was 18, I should have been signing loans for $100,000. Like there's no way for that. Like it's no way. No one should be doing that. Everyone I know who grew up with me, they have this harmful debt now that's so hard to pay off.
Mm.
And we're in low paying jobs that are not going to pay these loans off. So it's just like a ugly cycle. And if our parents don't know any better, they of course weren't going to tell us any better. I think there should be more of a push towards like trade schools, entrepreneurship, things like that. Creative, like arts. I know people say, "Oh, the arts doesn't pay the bills," but it can. And if it's something that you want to do, and something that you feel passionate about, you can always make money other ways than going to college. Especially nowadays, where you need like a PhD just to make $20.
I'm gonna let that stand. Before we have a whole other type of podcast on our hands. But in talking and being so candid about the money and the loans and your own situation and how this book has changed your life, that's also elucidated in the novel itself. And yes, it's about social justice in terms of racism and reckoning with racism. But I also noticed that you talk about class. And it may not be at the forefront of the book, but it is a definite subtext. Why was it important for you to highlight the class differences that people face when they go off to college, and not just the racial differences as well?
I thought that was important to point out because even on my campus, that was a lot of ways. Like you would just assume that the Black kids were poor and on scholarships, and the other kids were, well off and wealthy. And you go into this whole thing, okay, well, what is wealthy? What is rich? And at the end of the day, on these type of campuses, why does it matter? We're all here for the same thing. We're all here for education. This shouldn't like put us on two different sides, but sometimes it is. Even the people of color who are wealthy, you have access to a whole other economic status. You have doors that are open for you. I thought that was a way for me to point out just how, while race does play an effect of what happens in college, class is also a major component, especially when you can hide yourself.
All right. So now we got to talk about the race part of the book. We talked about everything else. So it's very apparent early on in Savannah's experience when she goes to Wooddale that she's going to be dealing with racists and racism. It starts in the defacement of a statue and it escalates to where she's called out of her name. And as much as my college experience was a good one and a fun one, it was at college where it was the first time I was ever called a nigger. So why was it important for you to give that story and that experience of so many students life through Savannah?
Just so they can realize that they have a voice, even when people try to kill it. And I think that's how I wrote the book. Like all the people that were doing these things to Savannah were just trying to like demean her, belittle her, put her down, make sure that she doesn't stand up for herself, that she recognizes like the type of campus that they were on, that she just went with the flow. That's what they wanted her to do. To just stick to the status quo, don't say anything, don't speak up. And so they did all these things to her to kind of like break her down. And that happens a lot on college campuses, especially when like those type of parties are involved. After like class is dismissed, that's when the real campus culture shows up. And I know how people will try to make sure you don't speak up, try to scare you into being silent. And I gave Savannah the voice that she has because I wanted people to realize that it's okay for you to go against that. You don't have to be quiet and you don't have to fit into a culture, especially a culture that doesn't want you in the first place. You don't have to force yourself to fit into that.
And in you preaching this and in Savannah preaching this in the book, there's a big tension because even as you mentioned in your reading of the first chapter, she doesn't want to go to Wooddale. She doesn't want to go to the PWI. She wants to go to an HBCU. And her mother is adamantly against it. And toward the end of the book on page 287, they're having this conversation where Savannah's trying to express how she feels. And her mother cuts her off and says, baby, I've been trying to tell you the entire world is a racist institution. And I feel like that's a lot of the argument from some folk, Black folk included, against HBCUs. Like, why are you trying to put yourself into this insular place where when you come out of it, you still have to live and work and face the real world, which in America is very racist. Why was it important for you to include that argument? And what do you say to that argument yourself?
I put that in there because it's kind of what my parents told me, that I can run from it. When I told them that I wanted to leave, that was basically their rebuttal, that you can't run from it. This is what is going to happen when you get outside of this college campus. What do you think is going to happen when you get into the real world, the workforce? Every place is going to be against you, basically. And so I wrote that, and I wrote how Savannah responded to that. And it was kind of like a get back, like, I don't think so. Like, this does not have to happen to me. Does not have to be the norm if I don't want it to be. And I didn't go to a HBCU myself, but I feel like if I did go, I would still be on the same path that I am now. It wouldn't have changed anything. I just would have went to a better school.
All right, now tell them about it. You mentioned earlier that you were outlining book 3. So what's up with book 2? Was this all included in the deal? What's happening?
But 2 was included in the deal, yes. But 2 actually follows Bianca, and we follow her journey as a teenage mother trying to work her way out of financial insecurity. So we go deeper into like the class and like poverty and all these things that we see happening in the first chapter in Savannah's neighborhood. So we're going back to Memphis for the whole book now. I think that's going to be my niche, Memphis books. So that book is called Sun Keep Rising, and it's coming out next year in 2023. I don't know a date yet, but we should have that soon. Congrats. Even a cover reel will be soon, so you guys will see that.
Yeah.
And then, so after that, I'm currently outlining book 3, which is going to follow someone in book 2 that you haven't met yet. So I think I have like a little trilogy, but not really going, and that will also be set in Memphis. So I think, I'm going to keep the Memphis theme going. I want to keep this world going for a little bit because I love the world that I've built so far with Savannah's neighborhood and my characters, and I want to see more of them. And I have the inspiration, so I'm going to write it.
I am looking forward to that. So with that said, I want to move to a speed round and a go game before I let you go. So what is your favorite book?
I have 3. Okay, I'm going to pick one. Coffee Will Make You Black by April Sinclair. It is an old book, but I still love it to this day. It's one of the first books that I picked up that detail a coming of age story of a Black girl.
I have that book somewhere in my mother's house. Who is your favorite author?
Maya Angelou.
Okay. What is the best thing about being from Memphis?
The food and the language, I can say. So like, if I say something is green, most people won't know what that means. But if I tell a Memphis person that, they got me. I know I've met my people.
I noticed at the end of the acknowledgement, you said, like, we made it, man. And I was like, she from Memphis. Who was your favorite artist?
I'm going to do musical artists, and I'm going to show how I was also raised by my grandparents again. Aretha Franklin, my fave.
Just the old soul. Just the old soul. Name 3 things on your bucket list.
I'm planning a trip to Jamaica, so that's something on my bucket list. I want to write a picture book. That's on my bucket list. And I also want to go like skydiving to get over my fear of heights. I feel like that's extreme, but I feel like if I don't do something extreme, I'm just gonna keep being scared. So
But why do you want to jump out of a perfectly good plane?
because I hate being like on the plane, like being trapped on a plane is just so terrifying to me. Like, we're in the sky and I have nowhere to go.
Also true. So I take it being an astronaut was never in the cards for you.
Nah, nah.
All right. If you could have a conversation with any three writers, who would you want to talk to and what would you want to learn from them?
Ooh, okay. So Sharon Draper, I would want to learn voice from her. She has a very distinct voice and she has consistently put out great material over the last 30 years. So when you do that, I need to learn all I can from you. Tiffany Jackson, I like her. I want to get into horror. And so, especially Black horror. And I want to know where you start. How do you get that atmospheric writing that I don't think I possess as of now? And can I do someone dead?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I would want to talk to Toni Morrison about how like she consistently made Black people the focus of her novels without getting the pushback of, oh, do you think this is too much?
Oh, like, she got the pushback. She just didn't care.
Yeah. How do you not care? Because I'd be like, they push back a little bit. I'm like, okay, maybe I should push back.
I got you. Yeah. That's a whole other conversation. And what do you think is your hidden talent? Because you seem to have stumbled into writing. So what is your hidden talent that you kind of know about also?
I'm a good interior designer. Like, I've been looking around my apartment. I was like, oh, wow, I really did that.
I'll snap. Kristen's Design Services coming to you.
I know, right? Playing Sims for 30 years really did something for me.
Wow. I'm going to move on to my game. It's called Rewriting the Classics. So I want you to name one book you wish you would have written.
The Coldest Winter Ever by Sister Soldier. The greatest coming of age novel that I've ever read.
I'm here for it. I'm here for it. What's one book where you want to change the ending and how would you do it?
So I was reading Concrete Rose the other day by Angie Thomas. It follows Maverick from The Hate U Give. Mm-hmm. And so I want to change that ending, but I would want to make it less like, so we know what happens to him, like, because he ends up going to jail. So I want to change that. I want him to live his happily ever after life that he deserves.
I haven't picked up Concrete Rose yet, so now I got to get it to see the full completion of that story from The Hate U Give. My final question for Rewriting the Classics is my little messy question. Name one book that you think is overrated and why.
That is so messy.
Or I'll soften it, a book that you think is overtaught.
What is that book that all the white people say, oh, you have to read this to begin? The Tale of Two Cities. Overrated. We don't need that. All the white classes, I just feel like, we can not have this and it will be just fine. Huckleberry Finn, all that. What is that other one? Tom Sawyer. Like, why are we reading this? This is not needed in 2022.
For The Tale of Two Cities, I will just suggest everyone read Kiese Layman's Long Division, in which he wrote two books about the tale of two cities. So if anybody's read the book, they'll get that reference. My final question for our interview today is, so you just started out on this journey of writing and publishing, and you seem to plan to have a long career with 2 more books coming at least. So when you are no longer here on the earth and among the ancestors, what would you want someone to write about the legacy of words and work that you've left behind?
That I made them feel like they mattered, that I made them feel like they were seen, that their Blackness wasn't an otherness, but it was just the norm.
Thank you, Kristen.
Thank you.
Big thank you to Kristen R. Lee for being here today on Black and Published. Make sure you check out Kristen's debut novel, Required Reading for the Disenfranchised Freshman. It's out now from Penguin Random House. And if you're not following Kristen, follow her on the socials. She's at Kristen Lee Books on Twitter and Instagram. That's our show for the week. If you like this episode and want more Black and Published, head to our Instagram page. It's at Black and Published, and that's BLK and Published. There, I've posted a bonus clip from my interview with Kristen about how the villain in her novel is the embodiment of problematic people who get an untold number of chances to fail up, in comparison to minorities who often immediately face consequences for their actions. Make sure you check it out and let me know what you think in the comments. I'll holla at y'all next week when our guest will be Chicago area sisters Cheryl Jackson and Lyris Wallace. Until next time, peace.